Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran and we got some updates for World of Warcraft Shadowlands. We're going to be talking about patch 9.1 updates, like some of the more new customizations that are being added. Blizzard revealed they're going to be doing more Void Elf customization, and we even have screenshots of what they're preparing to do for the Nightborne and Lightforged allied races. And these things look fantastic. I'm someone who plays one of the Nightborne, and for me, I cannot wait to see what the males look like. But we've got the female Nightborne and the male Draenei, some of the different customizations for us to look at. We also got the weekly updates for patch 9.1. So far, what we've had that's different of this patch. So let's do a weekly overview of everything we have to talk about from last week and today. Starting off with Battle for Azeroth Islands. Apparently in patch 9.15, you will be able to solo queue for island expeditions in the next patch. This is a little out of the blue since islands were literally in the last expansion, Battle for Azeroth, and I didn't think a lot of people would actually want to do them, but when you think about it, islands are chock full of mounts and pets and transmogs and toys. There's a lot of little things to collect, and if you're someone who is into collectibles, Islands seems like a perfect playground. However, Islands has the biggest flaw. It needs other players to queue, and with it not being the current content, finding players to queue for normals, heroics, or even mythics can be quite challenging. I'm actually quite interested to see how popular this feature and this change is going to be, because islands are full of collectibles, and if you're, let's say, someone who is just waiting in between patches for the next raid tier or the next class update, it will give players something to do in the meantime. It's also really cool for them to breathe somewhat of life into content from a previous expansion that normally naturally gets obsolete as soon as that expansion is over. Now let's get into the big stuff, the good stuff, the female Nightborne and the male Lightforged. Screenshots for both of them have came out. We even with the blue post talking about how they listened to the feedback and they wanted to try to apply that feedback into some of the models. So we have quite a lot to take a look at. We'll start off with the male Draenei really quickly. All they have is their backside with tails, but you can see already that the tails are of different length. So you will be able to change the length of the tails for your Draenei, as well as the skin tones. It looks like there's a lot more variety, but also those Lightforged tattoos, there's different types with different gems and different metal bits, and also it looks like different haircuts. I'm seeing an easily distinguishable man bun, and I'm pretty sure this one was also new. I don't think any of their horns have any metal bits and bobs on them. I'm pretty sure it's a new set of horns and hair, maybe one and the same. But for the males, besides the backsides, that's all we really have. For the females, however, we got front shots of the actual female Nightborne, and the stuff that they added looks fantastic. First things first, the eyes. A lot of players have been asking, a lot of Nightborne players have been asking for the same slanted or squinty, either way you describe it, eyes that the NPCs in Suramar have. The current Nightborne we play are more wide-eyed, while the Nightborne NPCs of Suramar, the guards, the magisters, all of them have narrowed eyes that look more intimidating rather than excited. The reason this is big is from the get-go when they made the Nightborne, players have asked them constantly to add similar eyes as the NPCs. But besides the eyes, we have even more to take a look at. The obvious one are the different skin tones to be able to go a little bit more tan, a little bit more darker, and even like a shade of green of sorts. Then we have necklaces. You have this chain necklace. You have a necklace with a gem at the end of it. And it also looks like you can have them in different metals. Speaking about the metal bits, a lot of them can actually be changed in color. And we have the silver, we have this like whitish, and then we have a golden metal colors. And what about the metal bits on their faces? We have a lot more of them. We have this nose bridge. We have a lot of the chin ones, like the pointy chin. We have even something on the neck, as well as all the different ear options as well. The haircuts, it looks like we have different types of buns, as the one on the middle left and far left are different but very similar. Middle right, it looks very similar to what Nightborne already have, but a little bit more free-flowing. And on the far right, we have a shorter option. And another little detail that most of you wouldn't notice, but the eyebrows as well. You can see the one with black hair has eyebrows that are kind of angled upwards, while the one on the far right, it looks like they're shorter or maybe more angled downwards. while the two in the middle and the far left have the original long look. And finally, even a bigger detail is I think the tattoos are different. It's really hard to tell because a lot of the Nightborne tattoos have a reflective surface, so you really have to have the camera in the right angle to be able to see it properly. But it looks like the tattoos on the face of the middle left have a bit more of a spiral towards the forehead, while on the right there's more a little bit of this battle kind of scars or even battle paint, war paint of sorts under the eyes. And we don't even see the details of it all until we actually get on PTR whenever these things are up, because potentially there's more options for the body, the legs, kind of how it fits on the character. And there's just a lot that we don't get to see because, again, you just need the right angle. But from what we do get to see, these look fantastic. Not only did they incorporate some of the fan feedback from a while ago, but good thing that they were doing it now, but also these look really good. And it almost looks like they didn't really just hash off some of the Night Elf customizations and just kind of plop on the Nightborne, but it looks like Nightborne are getting their own unique ones that only they will have. Honestly, I cannot wait to see what the male Nightborne have as well as the female Draenei. I am really excited what are they going to do for them. I'm expecting for the male Nightborne to have maybe some form of metal beard potentially. I personally would enjoy some kind of like a normal facial hair, but I think they're going to go for the more metal look. If we follow the trend, Nightborne females didn't really get a lot copied over from the Night Elf females. So I'm not really expecting for the Nightborne males to just have some of the Night Elf male customizations copied over to them. And it's probably going to be more unique and probably more out there. As for the Draenei females, I'm hoping they show off more runes above their heads. I think that's one thing that is really unique to the Lightforged, is the fact that you always have this rune in front of your character. But either way, these models look fantastic. I love them. I think they look great. And if you have not unlocked Lightforged or the Nightborne just yet as an allied race back in Legion, I think that would be the perfect time to go back and start unlocking them before patch 9.1.5 drops, whenever that's going to be. Now let's dive back into patch 9.1 a little bit and talk about some of the stuff we've had last week. If you're in Korthia and you're just sitting on a bunch of knowledge on any fresh new alt character, now you actually have an item in Korthia from the archivist vendor, Chronicles of Lost Memories, which for 2000 research will actually unlock for you a legendary recipe that you haven't unlocked yet. It's not a perfect solution, but honestly it might be a little bit better than having to wait for LFR, Sardonathrius, or any of the Castle Nathria fights, since a lot of the class legendaries are still tied to Castle Nathria. It's weird that Blizzard didn't really port them over to the new raid tier. They did this with conduits, but the legendaries are still stuck with Castle Nathria. Since that's not current content, if you are a class that needs one specific legendary from one specific boss, you could be waiting in LFR for quite a while. But if you have a bunch of research on a brand new character, level 60, and let's say you've already capped out all your gear, you capped out all your rewards, if you are missing some legendaries, at least it gives the research a little bit more of a sink to spend them into at least something. A pretty big change happened last week as well. You now have to be max level in order to list groups for LFG Group Finder as well as Mythic Plus. The obvious reason is to hopefully curb some of the advertising LFG groups that are there just to advertise sale runs for heroics and mythics, where a level 1 character could previously do this before. Now you at least have to be max level. Now this won't completely eliminate adverts, as annoying as they are, but at least the player needs to have a max level character. In the LFG window, there's even an option to report a post as an advertisement. So assuming that if enough people report these advertisements, eventually players will just not be able to list them for groups, and eventually they would run out of max level characters to list, making it harder for some of these posts to even appear. The question is, does the advertisement report even work in LFG? And actually, that's a really good question. I would love to know. Is it an actual functional button? Because every time I see willing to sell groups in LFG when looking for mythic buses, I always report them. Maybe it's just a lack of reporting by a lot of players, so that's why it doesn't really work. Or maybe the button doesn't actually do anything. I'm sure a lot of you guys are like me. You're already reporting them as advertisements, but for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, actively reporting them when you see them. If this is supposed to work as we think it's supposed to, maybe in a week or 2 or even 3, maybe in the month, we'll just see a lot less willing to sell adverts in our LFG window. The only way we can do that is if we actively report it with hopes that some action is taken. At worst, it's just a couple of clicks to find out in a long run in 2 weeks or 3 weeks if those adverts slow down any. But it does also show that Blizzard really needs to update their LFG window. It's functional, but it's also pretty outdated. So giving us better tools in order to deal with these kind of adverts and even moderation, which hopefully there's some sort of moderation with it, will actually let the system be a real thing rather than kind of a placebo effect. Finally, for patch 9.1, if you do your Mythic Pluses and you're a tank, your Halls of Atonement runs are probably pretty painful ever since they buffed the ability of Wicked Bolt from some of the few earlier caster mobs in that dungeon. Well, they actually made that cast of that mob go from 1.5 seconds cast to a 2-second cast. This doesn't mean your group will somehow miraculously start interrupting for the tank in order to make sure that he survives all those bolts, but at least you might be able to have an extra global before you fall over immediately. So all of your tanks grinding around Halls of Atonement, watching all these melees, missing their interrupts, I salute you, I feel your pain, and hopefully you'll have a lot more melee actually snagging interrupts going forward. Finally, to wrap it up with patch 9.1 stuff, we got one more customization that we didn't get to talk about, which is Void Elves are now getting the normal color options, like more natural color for hair as an option, customizable in the next patch 9.1. Also, they've gotten options, we talked about it before, where their ear sizes will be different. You can have long ears, medium ears, as well as short ears, just like Blood Elves. So Void Elves will now have ear options, as well as some of the normal non-voidy hair options for the color, as well as the skin options that they got in the Shadowlands, where they can be less purple and more like Blood Elves. The way I look at it is more customizations is good. However, some players pointed out that potentially you'll have Void Elves and Blood Elves being basically indistinguishable from one another, except some play on Alliance and some play on Horde. In some sense, I can kind of agree, and keeping allied races in some way unique can sometimes be challenging. I think it's good that we're getting more options, but if anything going forward, maybe Blizzard should consider some of the different color options for the hair. They want more natural colors, but maybe they should still have some unique ones that only Void Elves can have, the Blood Elves can't. So at least there's some sort of differences between the two. I mean, there'll be obvious differences like the different factions that play, the racials they use, and which classes are available to them. Like the obvious one where Blood Elves can be Paladins while Void Elves cannot be Paladins. So there are some gameplay changes. But in terms of customizations, I understand it from the Nightborne perspective. I am excited that Nightborne got some unique stuff. They didn't just get the Night Elf copy-paste hair options and other customizations and leaves in their hair like the Night Elves do. Instead, it looks like they're getting their own unique stuff that looks similar to what the others have, but still unique either way. So from that perspective, I can kind of understand what some players are saying, but I want to pass it off to you guys in the comments. What do you think about these updates? The hair for Void Elves, the Lightforged and the Nightborne models we have so far, all the other updates we've covered. Let me know in the comments below, or just hit me up on Discord. That's probably the best place to reach me. I'm always there and available. Link to the Discord down below. Feel free to join, is the channel Discord. We always hang out in there and talk about it, WoW stuff regularly. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, I'll see all of you in another one.